What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Figure It Out of the Basement's Black Series talk show. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
What's up, guys?
And this year is the 10th anniversary of the Black Series.
Very true.
Honestly, kind of crazy to think about. We haven't been collecting the entire time, but
True.
Damn near pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
My first figure was the prototype Boba Fett from the Blue line.
Yep, mine was the First Order Snowtrooper Officer, the Toys R Us exclusive in 2015. But we had this idea to sort of do like a 10th anniversary retrospective and kind of go talk about the first wave ever of the Black Series, which will be the topic today, but also the infamous article that is always cited about when Hasbro unveiled the Black Series concept and they just revealed it and said, here it is.
Before we get into that, though, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Black Series here on the channel.
Yeah, so there was this article from USA Today that announced, Hasbro has unveiled the Black Series, the new 6-inch action figure Star Wars line from Hasbro, and I read it over today, and there were a few interesting quotes that I wanted to share with you, because as you know, Nate, this article is often cited by like modern Black Series haters because the article talks about definitive like detail and accessories and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, did we stray far from this, or is it still, going strong, that sort of thing. I know that gets under your skin because it was literally 10 years ago.
Yeah, and if you look at, it's very obvious that what they meant by that was for the time. And if you look at other figures from around that time period, especially ones like, there was an example I was looking up earlier. It was the Winter Soldier Captain America figure, which is of course supposed to have Chris Evans' likeness. The 2013 figure, whew, things were definitely a little rougher back then.
Yeah, so there are a few interesting quotes that I have written down on this little sheet for you. Some of them are by the article's author, but some are by Daryl DePriest, who is, at the time, the Hasbro Vice President of Boys Marketing. So some of this is coming directly from him. But when the Black Series was first unveiled, it was described as, quote, will feature more articulation and an increased attention to detail. They're comparing it to 375. They also consider them, this is from Daryl DePriest, we consider them the best figures that Hasbro's ever produced for Star Wars. They also describe it as a transitional point between 3 3/4 inch and then like 12 inch like sideshow stuff. They also mention how the Black Series is both for newbies, that's what they call it, that old 2013 epic fail noob.
And specifically spelled NEWB.
Exactly. And hardcore collectors alike. And some really interesting quote. This is right from Daryl, the vice president of Hasbro Boys Marketing at the time. Quote, our focus here is the adult collector.
Yeah, that kind of stuck out to me going over this article again was, he straight up said kind of a slight to some TVC fans in some ways, because they kind of are like, 3 3/4 inches for the kids.
Yeah, they literally say that, and they say Black Series is for adults, like the dad generation, which is really interesting and kind of contradicts some other things that we may or may not actually know about the toy industry, about, whether they're marketing to children or the majority of purchases are for kids. Some people make that claim. Some people say it's adults that make up the majority. So, yeah, they definitively said it's for the adults. It's an adult collector line, which also has to do with the word Black Series, the phrase Black Series, because this is literally the explanation they gave. And it was a cute little thing to throw in. I thought it was kind of funny. Black equal outer space.
Yep.
So I'm like, they're like, the color black is often associated with Star Wars. I'm like, yeah, it takes place in outer space. And then they said that's the move Lucasfilm made with their adult collector lines. So that also kind of explains why Black Series Force Effects lightsabers and roleplay items like helmets is under the Black Series name. Maybe that's a possible explanation. But yeah, it's always an interesting article, and it's always weird to look back at and see what their mindset was at the time. I mean, saying 375 is for kids couldn't be further from the truth.
Right. That was definitely a very out of touch comment to make.
This was also back when Black Series was also the 3 3/4 inch line.
Yeah, because they had killed the vintage collection and replaced it by just calling it Black Series, and then it was a Walmart exclusive line after that. Very weird time for 3 3/4 inch figures. But yeah, it was a really interesting and different time. The first time ever that Star Wars wasn't 3 3/4 inch. And so I think a lot of people were apprehensive. I know we've talked to some people like Mike Case or Fig Fury about what it was like collecting right when everything began. And a lot of that stuff was peg warming, sitting on shelves because just general lack of interest from people thinking that Star Wars should just remain 3 3/4 inch. But now it's actually become the dominant line of the two.
Whoa there, Nate. I mean, yeah, clearly, since we always joke about balance of scales, but yeah, Black Series does get a lot of like new media love, for better or for worse. I think for worse. Be careful what you wish for, but this isn't that sort of video.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see what they intended the line to be, and they cite like Marvel Legends success because obviously that came out first, so that's kind of why they pushed for 6 inch. There's other interesting stuff in that article. I would recommend checking it out. If I remember, I'll put a link in the description. That article was published in January, and then the first actual wave of Black Series figures dropped around August of 2013 for $19.99 each. And it was a solid first wave. It was 4 figures. In 2013, there was like 8 figures total. So if you think things are bad now, it was 8 figures. Although, obviously, they're all new. Couldn't do much reuse until Blue Line came around. But the first 4 figures were Luke Skywalker, X-Wing, Darth Maul from The Phantom Menace, the Sand Trooper from A New Hope, and R2-D2.
What a great wave to start out with. Mostly original trilogy, but you know, you get one of the most popular prequel characters right out of the gate.
Yeah, 25% prequel right in that first wave. I wish they would have maintained that all throughout 2015, 16, 17, 18, all the way to 23 now. But R2 could sort of count as prequel too, because he is absolutely loaded with accessories. He has the jetpack, booster attachments. So, yeah, I think it was a solid wave. It was a good variety. And it's like, say what you will about the likeness and everything. You got to remember, it's 2013.
Yeah.
So, like, I sort of have a soft spot for these figures. I have all of them from Orange Line. I don't know if you have every single one.
I just have the archive versions.
Oh, yeah, archive. It counts. It's just photoreal. And one interesting thing to point out is they were pretty definitive for the time.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them is even our favorite Black Series figure to this day.
Right.
With the Sand Trooper. And I was looking at this wave. They had a lot of accessories.
Yeah, that's true. Darth Maul has an alternate head, double-bladed lightsaber, binoculars. X-Wing Luke has lightsaber blaster and a helmet.
True.
R2's loaded.
Sand Trooper's loaded.
Yeah, the Sand Trooper has 3 different blasters and a huge backpack and tons of weathering. You could definitely tell they were able to do a lot more with the budget when the line first started.
Yeah, this was also before the sequel trilogy came out. So I would imagine the Star Wars licensing fee probably just went up and up and up and up, especially when they have Force Awakens. I'm pretty sure it made over $1 billion.
Yeah, but contrary to what some people believe, Disney did already own Lucasfilm and Star Wars for the entire time the Black Series has existed.
Very true. So that'll be interesting once we get into Wave 2 with Leia. But yeah, I think just this first wave of Black Series was strong. And, like, the point of this video is sort of, like, history, like, Black Series history. So this is, like, part 1, whenever we don't have literally anything else to talk about.
Right. We'll talk about the good old history of the Black Series, but...
Paint was great. Accessories were great. Likeness, obviously, this is all pre-photoreal. So, you know, it's also 2013.
Yeah, but... I mean, even that original mall, I mean, by today's standards, doesn't look great. But I remember when that was the only mall we had, and I was like, you know, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Right.
So I really only think, like, X-Wing Luke is the outlier of any of the figures, because, of course, we got a helmet, a droid, and Maul is an alien, so, you know, you can kind of get away with hiding some of those facial details. So really a strong offering of characters that don't have to rely on realistic face details.
Yeah, that's true. And it is a shame that R2 was severely underscaled.
Right.
We do talk about that quite a bit here on the channel. If you're curious about aftermarket value, here's a graphic from Action Figure 411. No surprise, R2-D2 is the most expensive one, even after the 40th anniversary of A New Hope re-release, which is the one I have, actually. It's still the most expensive out of the original 4.
Yep. And that's actually a figure I do not own. I do not have a plain Black Series R2-D2 at all.
It's sculpted well. The details are there. It looks like R2. It's literally just too small. It has everything else going for it.
Yep. It's just comically tiny.
Yeah, but it is kind of crazy to go back and see that, yeah, they were the definitive versions of the character when you think about the sheer amount of stuff that they came with.
Right.
And the paint and everything.
Right. And the just jump from what you could do with a 3 3/4 inch figure to what you could do with a 6-inch figure in terms of detail.
Yeah,
so
and articulation.
At the time, I mean, it was definitely true, because it's not like you could hold up a 3 3/4 inch Darth Maul figure to the Black Series one and be like, yeah, the 3 3/4 inch one is better, because you know you're just being facetious.
Modern Black Series definitely doesn't come with as much by a long shot.
Yep.
Modern Black Series is also severely lacking in the paint department, but I still think they're better figures than what the 2013 one was. The Sand Trooper has bowed legs.
Yeah.
It's also, I prefer the deep cut single hinge over like a pinned double jointed. Just my personal preference. I think sculpt and engineering and articulation is better. But like I said, it is kind of interesting to go back and see the sheer amount of paint and accessories that came with these figures.
But you'll definitely see, once we get into talking about the next wave of figures, that those accessories already start dwindling.
Yeah, it really kind of is that first wave.
It's the first wave, and then they're already pulling the plug on that. So
this 2013 wave 1 might be like one of the best waves ever.
Oh yeah, it's 100% quality over quantity. You know, you don't get every single accessory you could imagine with these figures, but you get almost every single one you could think of.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because they're only 4 figures to a wave when they started out.
Yeah.
So with less character variety, they squeezed in more paint and accessories. I feel like I'd be a fan of that. I feel like I would be a fan if they did a return to that. Kind of like your little Wicket here.
Yeah, I do.
Actually has paint on it.
I do really like Wicket. I think it would also be pretty interesting, though, because I know some people have talked about this too, to get like an anniversary wave of these 4 figures, like all 4 of them completely newly tooled, because there's definitely room for improvement on every single one of them. No doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I would honestly love to see them do a new X-Wing pilot body so that we could actually get something that might be like a little bit different.
Not the little toddler X-Wing body.
Yeah, and based on the 2 other Darth Maul figures that we have that are incredible and super well articulated, you know that they would absolutely kill an updated Phantom Menace costume version of Maul as well.
True, and we are getting a newly tooled R2-D2 pretty soon here in 2023, so I would not be opposed to this idea at all.
Hasbro, there's a free one for you.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's just a retrospective. It's a look back. If you weren't collecting back then, maybe it's a little educational. Learn about the line a little bit.
Yeah.
And I do think, again, it's just interesting to look back because I don't really think about those early figures. Some of them are still darn good.
And so there you have it. There's a little retrospective look at the very first wave of Black Series figures for the 10th anniversary of the line. We made it. Here's 10 years. Here's to 10 more years. That would honestly be insane if the Black Series goes on for another 10 years. Could you imagine what could happen?
I mean, as long as they still make new Star Wars content, I just don't see it going anywhere.
Yeah, and for the foreseeable future, it seems like that is going to happen. But
I was going to go, endless trash.
Do you want to look into the camera and say endless trash?
Is that a little too on the nose, Red Letter Media?
Maybe.
I don't know. I can't remember the last thing you said.
Let's hope, though, that they start fixing the ratio again so we could get some more OTs, definitely some more prequel figures going on, because the mix is out of balance currently when you compare new media to old.
Hasbro, yo, quit with the new stuff, bitch. Yo, Hasbro, quit with the new stuff, bitch.
My name is Walter Hartwell White, and Hasbro needs to stop with the Black Series. But for real, though, it's okay to have new media figures. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Strike while the iron's hot. We understand all of that. But you can't leave OT fans, and especially prequel fans, in the dust.
Yeah, don't leave us hanging.
Yeah, because those figures are still going to sell. I think evidence shows time and time again. And just like last week's episode where we talked about what the most expensive Black Series figure is, there's a clear pattern that there's a super strong desire for prequel figures at the moment.
Right. It's just, Hasbro, please go back to your roots. Keep the updated quality. I love it. The figures are the best they've ever been. The sculpts are great. We're getting a lot of new tooling in the line. But just go back to that character variety of like the orange and blue line, like, you know, before the new Disney stuff existed.
Right.
Please.
But that is all we have for you this week on Figure It Out. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. We're always talking about Star Wars, the Black Series here on the channel. If you'd like to support us in a more direct manner, we do also offer a channel membership for 99 cents a month. And we also have a small collection of merch. There are links for everything in the description down below. Big thank you and special shout out to our channel members, though. Your continued support is truly appreciated. And thank you to everyone else out there for watching. I'm Nate, joined with Justin.
See you guys later.
And we'll see you next time on Out of the Basement.